response to what the governor had to say. First speaker today is the director of Tapestry of Polygamy, Vicki Prenti. Governor Levitt, while the laws say polygamy is illegal, you have been quoted as saying, we have a long history of dealing with it. We, along with many other women and children, believe that the state has a long history of not dealing with it. We petition you to enforce the laws of polygamy until, if at such a time, they are repealed. If at such a time the people decide that this lifestyle should be legalized, then laws should be established to prevent any abuses.
In reference to the Kingston case, there have been no charges of statutory rape or incest against this girl's uncle. It is my opinion that if this case was being tried in any other state, this action would have been taken, and a polygamist would not be allowed to represent law in our courts.
I don't mean to make an antagonistic question, but these people have rights as well within the system.
That's why we need dialogue, and we hope that they'll have the courage so that maybe at some point we can do something about this, negotiate, maybe even possibly have some sort of guidelines, standards, task force, whatever.
And what's the task force? What are they going to do? They're going to go out and try to talk to these people that other people try to talk to. As you put it, they're an enclosed society. What happens then? They're not going to talk.
We have a case that is not enclosed, and you're doing nothing about statutory
I don't think that's exactly true. They're prosecuting Mr. Kingston, aren't they?
Or beating the child. What about statutory rape of the uncle, incest, and that he's a polygamist? We'll prosecute on all of it. We've got a case in the open. Let's do the right thing.
We all moved into one house when I was 7 years old. Before, we lived in separate homes. And actually, this is funny. At 4 years old, we gathered around, and I noticed that my mother listened more to the other women's children than her own, because she's bending over backwards to treat equally or love them as her own. And so they would say, Mother Myra, and she would listen, and I would be going, Mom, Mom, Mom. She wouldn't listen to me, so I said, Mother Myra, and I had her attention.
Our family home was situated right here. This would be the west end of the house, and it sat diagonally on the property. It wasn't squared to State Street. And at the time we built the house, there were 26 people that lived in the home. So you take the 5 adults, and there were 21 children living at home. And the older kids did the dishes and helped with cooking. The younger kids helped with housework. And there was always one of the older girls that was kind of a co-chairman with the mom, you know, to help direct all of the children in getting the jobs done. Downstairs was a room where we had freezers and root cellars and all kinds of stuff.
How did your father afford that?
The mothers worked.
I remember some mornings I'd be up earlier, and I would be in the kitchen. And usually in the morning there's this silence between the women, and they would be preparing things in the kitchen, breakfast, his lunch. And he would come in, and I'm sure the silence is over who he slept with that night and the reality of it. But he would come in, and well, I remember my mother calling it her duty peck. As he left for work, he would go through each of them and just give them a peck on the lips, and he was off. My mother was the third wife of 4. Oftentimes the first wife will be the favorite. In other families, it's the new young wife. It just depends on the man and his relationship with the women.
I was born right after the raid. My mother was pregnant with me at the time of the raid. My father was arrested and taken to jail. My mother and her sister wife, Donna, had brothers that were outside of the Colorado City group, and they offered to take them to Mexico so that they wouldn't be separated from their children, and they declined. I was born shortly after my father was released. He signed a document stating that he would not cohabitate with his plural wives. The town police officer's name was Fonzo. It was our responsibility as the older children, whenever he drove down the streets, we had to hide the younger children that were born from the plural wives from him because they were the evidence. And there was always the threat hanging over us that if we didn't hide them sufficiently, and our father went to prison and we were to blame.
I remember the impact that it had, a lot of fear. See, World War II had finished up, and then Eldon Kingston had died in 48, and then the raid in 53. So there was just a horrendous amount of fear. In the neighborhood, we had access to our friends, but we could never talk about the co-op or religion. And we never told a soul about polygamy because it was against the law. And nobody wanted to be prosecuted or persecuted as a result of it.
Because John Daniel Kingston's trial attracted national media scrutiny, his brother David O. Kingston, the husband of M. Kingston, was brought up on charges of incest and statutory rape.
What can you tell us about him?
I can't tell you much. I mean, I've just met him one time, and seems like a decent sort of person.
And everything he said is he's denied any sort of relationship with this woman whatsoever.
He has denied any sexual relationship with this woman.
During this time, Owen Allred, prophet of the United Apostolic Brethren, claimed that no physical or sexual abuses occurred within his group of polygamists.
What did you think of Mr. Allred's comments the other day?
What are you hearing?
He's 84 years old, and he's in denial, clear up to here. The Kingstons already think that they're going to get off.